Artificial intelligence and military civil fusion. What is military civil fusion or civil military fusion? It's exactly what it says. It's when civilian private companies fuse with the military in order to help the military advance at a much quicker rate. Why? Because private AI intelligence, artificial intelligence, is more advanced than military intelligence. China is using US private company technology in order to help its military, and America doesn't want its produce working against it. So America's now putting bans on selling China semiconductors and sensors. The other issue is that private companies in China are being used by the military to produce and help the military. If those companies in China are using the military, because that is exactly what civil military fusion is, it's when the government tells the companies, you have to work with us, then America isn't going to want to sell those companies any products that will help the military, or will help those or help those companies develop technology with American technology to integrate into the military. So there is a big problem with military civil fusion. China wishes to dominate the world. It wishes to do that by 2049 because that's the centennial. And China has a bit of a chip on its shoulder because it's been messed around by the West, and the West has managed to get ahead. And China knows it can do good because China used to be a very dominant force in the world. It maybe invented currency, and it was very early in its capacity to develop itself quicker than other Western countries, which now have surpassed it. So China has a timeline. By 2020, it wants to be on par with America. By 2025, it wants to be making big breakthroughs. And by 2030, it wants to command quite high heights of AI. China needs to have data because data is the new source of gold. Because China doesn't have the same rules and it can take data from people quite easily and sometimes illegally, it allows the collection of data to be done very fast, data being the new gold.
In the age of AI, data is the new oil, so China is the new Saudi Arabia.
Data helping AI created is then superiority. Whoever has AI superiority controls the world. The Americans don't get their data from private companies because the private companies don't like the ethical concepts and ideas that the Americans might be using the data to create military weapons and to do things against people. Therefore, the Americans have a little bit of a problem because how do they get data if the tech companies won't give it to them? Well, China has a reputation for being autocratic and a police state, and people don't really wish to go there because if they go and develop advanced technology, that advanced technology might be taken away from them or they might be forced to give it up to the government. Whereas the Americans have a freedom, a opportunity policy, which is much more appealing to people, so people are much more likely to go to America. How does America get data? Well, if there is a pandemic, then people have to give over their data.
If you measure by research, basic research, papers published, excellence of research, US is and will be ahead for the next decade. But if you measure by value created, how much market capitalization, how many users, how much revenue, China probably is already ahead.
If the only solution to dealing with a pandemic is to create applications that take people's data, and those applications create safety nets. For instance, in one part of the country, they'll have biosensors in people that will relay information to say if people are ill, and then AI and the government will instantly know that there might be a pandemic. If there is a pandemic, people are far more happy, even willing to give up their freedoms in order to help their fellow humans because they know that in their country, protecting their country is actually protecting themselves. So a pandemic gives an opportunity for this to happen. Therefore, it's in the interest of a country to be under a permanent pandemic, which is very dangerous because if a pandemic can be facilitated or created in order for people to give up their information, then that might be something a bad government does. If the people give up their data to the government under public health reasons, and the government or national security collects this data and then they feed it to AI machines, they are building AI. In order to prevent the spread of it, it would need to go into a national database, and then that is how America can keep its freedom and opportunity sales pitch and also create a military civil fusion, because AI is the military, and to build AI you need data. And so by getting the data from a pandemic, you are indirectly helping the military industrial complex. That's how you do it.